Okay, thank you very much for joining me on TMI Tuesday edition. Well, we've been talking about the days to 2019 general election. As we know, February 16 is the presidential election, which is just about 39 days, approximately 5 weeks to the presidential election. And we look at the preparations of INEC, which are in top gear to ensure that the election is credible, is free and fair. In as much as there are also some arguments at the corners about the allegations that, well, the INEC is being compromised or is compromising. Well, we'll look at that and discussing this vital topic with me is an articulate, erudite public affairs analyst, Francis Owaifo. Many thanks for coming, Francis.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great to know that we have just 39 days to the presidential election. What does that give you? What impression?
It shows that the election is here with us.
Great.
We've been waiting for it, and now it's here. Everyone must brace up and set his heads on what we want going forward for Nigeria. How do we want Nigeria to become from 39 days from now? The prospects and all Nigerians, all will be clamoring for. We're going to bring it to the fore on that day. So
okay.
I believe that it's coming nearer. It's a good sign that good things are coming for this country.
Okay, seeing what happened 4 years back, 2015 precisely, where the election was also adjudged as relatively free and fair. What do you make of this coming one based on the body language or issues arising? You see it as what will also tailor in that direction?
I believe it's going to be the same thing, even better than what happened in 2015, because it means that as humans, we ought to have been doing something better and better. We learn from history. Because when you do something today and you have learned your flaws and your mistakes, you up your game and you get it better. So with the electoral umpire, which is INEC, the politicians, the card carrier members of society, and everybody, we must try as much as possible to see how we can get it better. Where we got it all wrong last year, where we didn't do well, we should be able to strain our mind and say, oh, this is what I didn't do well, and this is what I should do now to get it better. So I believe, I don't have any doubt in my mind that this election will be so peaceful and free and fair, because naturally you see, build up to elections are very hectic and chaotic. People are campaigning one to and do the other. They say all sorts of things. If you see people are frightened, people are so conscious, people are afraid here and there, but you even saw the prediction from international foreign nations for 2015 that that election will mar or break Nigeria that year.
And that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Yes.
That shows that people can say wherever.
So that shows that God is with us in Nigeria.
It's a godly nation.
Really?
We serve God very well, and we are so godly minded in our heart. We pray very well, and I believe that people are still praying. Well,
Francis Owaifo is a clergyman, and so it's expected that you will talk in that direction. But let's look at just a few days back where the INEC leadership, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, made copies available for political parties in terms of the voter register, which contains 84 million voters in that register and 84,004 voters. What do you make of that? Isn't that laudable, being that it's happening at this time, and that should be a kudos to the professor?
That, as I said before, it shows that INEC is getting every step right. Okay. Because it means that prior to election, you ought to know how many people are going to vote and display the register to even know the contestants and everybody that. And now look at it. For example, Lagos has showed that Lagos has the highest number of voters in Nigeria. So I believe that these statistics that they've gotten this time around is what really make the credibility of the election so glaring that people will say, oh, it's true that this is a figure that we got from this election, because as an umpire, you must improve on your last election or whatever you did before. So what they've done right now is in the right direction, that they've brought out the figures of the number of voters we have, and also demarcated the various constituencies, and also the various, everybody knows each region, how many voters are coming from there. So if you put one plus together, put your mathematics together, you know that if I do well in this region, this is what I'm getting, and this is what I'm getting. So I commend INEC on that, what they've just done, and I believe that they are set to go.
Okay, so with that means it means that you have confidence in the leadership of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
Yeah, why not? I do. He's supposed to be apolitical because that's what he is. Because I believe that insinuation here and there is totally towards one political party or whatever. But I believe in my heart that as a prof, he knows his onions. He knows that the nation is on it. He knows that everything is, every satellite is building on him right now. He must do the needful to leave a legacy and leave a name for himself, because he has a name to protect. Because whether you are bought over, whether you are compromised, it depends on the person involved. So as a prof and somebody that is saddled with the responsibility of conducting this general election that the whole world is looking up to bring in new leadership into this country, I feel that he has what it takes. Let's trust him. You see, we're giving him the responsibility. We don't need to have any doubt in our mind that he cannot do it.
Thank you so much, Francis Owaifo. Thank you so much. Well, that's a test of what we're going to be really treating and talking about at this time, looking at the issues emanating in terms of the preparations of INEC top gear over the elections coming up a few weeks from now. Well, we take a short break, and after that, we go full dose on the discussion. Don't you go away.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Well, we have a great chance to have the opportunity to welcome the presence of Chima Williams, who is a legal practitioner. Many thanks for coming, Chima.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen that just as the day breaks, it takes us closer to the election proper. And February 16 is just close by, about 39 days. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's the normal feeling that the elections are here, and something is going to happen in this country.
Positive.
Positive. And I've been one of those that believe that, contrary to many expectations, that the election will be fraught with this and that, there will be crisis, there will be, this election of 2019 will be one of the most peaceful elections, one of the most credible elections that have been conducted, because everybody is on the alert. Okay? The consciousness of Nigerians have arisen to a level that it has never been before. So every day things increases. The awareness, the consciousness of Nigerians to get things done right, continues to increase every day. And issues that comes up for discussion, are things that before now, perhaps were discussed in hush-hush voices. But now Nigerian citizens, the critical mass, are involved in the discussions, in the analysis, and in the projections of what will happen. So, for me, I look up to February as another milestone in the democratic ethos of this country.
Okay, in the conduct of the general elections, we can't leave out the very, very basic significance of the electoral umpire, yes. INEC, and INEC preparations are in top gear to ensure that it becomes free and fair. But just as we know, which is no longer news, where INEC leadership spoke about the fact that there's going to be a discontinuance of the incident forms. And do you see that as really feasible? Because I don't know if there's any legality backing that.
Well, you see, in terms of legality, INEC is saddled with the responsibility of determining rules within the ambit of the laws setting it up, to organize a credible, free and fair and acceptable election. So, the incident form over the years had been a manipulative process in the conduct of elections in this country for every participant in the electoral process. This is well known, because it's the incident form that has created opportunities for people to overvote. And for everybody,
not basically relying on the smart card reader.
Yes, because for INEC to say that we are relying solely on the smart cards, readers,
INEC didn't say basically that they're relying solely on the smart card reader. Because we also understand that even the leadership also spoke about the fact that if the smart card reader is unable to recapture or capture the fingerprints of that voter, then they're going to check for a confirmation of the voter's PVC. And if they see that the PVC is authentic, then he can vote manually. What do you think about that? That means it's not going to rest solely on the smart card reader.
No, you see, that is a process to eliminate fraud. Because for the confirmation of your PVC, it will take a process. that if you had voted, for instance, somewhere, and you are now coming to vote again, during that confirmation, it will be proved, or likely, it may be proved.
During that confirmation,
during that
manual way of confirming it.
Yes, and again, you know, the incident form means that somebody can just come out and, you know, say, I was not captured. Okay? So, everything that INEC is doing from the beginning, you know, is to ensure, of course, the people in INEC today knows the bashing their predecessors had received from Nigerians, and everybody wants to create a name for himself or herself. Okay? Nobody wants to sacrifice his or her own integrity and name, you know, at the altar of another person, because they've seen that politicians, you know, they will only be your good friends when you are doing their bidding. By the time they ask first on you, they don't know you again, because they have to protect their own heads and their own name. So you become the sacrificial lamb. And we have seen that happen to some of the electoral umpires in this country who had worked to install, you know, people by whatever reason. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that have gone ignominious, you know, in the political annals of this country. Nobody talks about them, you know, in good terms. So who wants to continue to bear such names? Everybody wants to be regarded as the best that Nigeria has, you know, produced in terms of electoral management. So nobody at this point in time is ready to be made sacrificial lamb.
Okay.
So this is where, and again, of course, with a docile citizenry, the umpire can do anything they like. But with active citizenry, you know, the umpire will have to be an umpire.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Francis Wifo. We understand the fact that the leadership is trying to ensure that no one is disenfranchised, which is a very big offense to the voter, being disenfranchised. But let's look at the drift. Let's look at the closure of the incident forms, and also the window opportunity for those who the smart card reader can't capture their fingerprints to vote in another way, which is in tandem with the rules of INEC. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I believe that the use of the incident form should be minimized, because when you come to a center during the election, you find out that it's just a very small fragment of people, probably those that have disability in their hands, or those that, or sometimes the smart card also uses a SIM card, and most times the SIM card does not have network. That is the only time you have such issue that, oh, they cannot use the card reader to vote. Okay,
I want to take you back to the phrase you said, use of smart card reader should be minimized. Or do you mean eradicated? Because the leadership of INEC already said that.
No, what I mean is that the use of, I didn't say the smart card reader, I said the use of the incident form.
Incident form,
so
yes.
That's what I'm incident form, because the truth is that the incident form is supposed to be a backup in case of what we just discussed, if somebody is unable to authenticate his or her fingerprint or whatever. So, but when you find, like 2015, you find out that some centers, you had more of incident form. So to me, that was very wrong, because you found out that it got to a stage, most of the electoral umpire, they jettisoned the use of the smart card, because it was just very easy to fill the form. What is your name? What is your gender? They started using it, and that was where fraud was really perpetrated last 4 years ago. And
so that's why the leadership has stopped.
Yes, that's where they are coming in now. So I believe that this time around, the usage of that incident card should be minimized, in the sense that when the smart card is really working, when you have a good, strong network, and I believe just that the feelers from INEC is that they've configured their cards, the card reader, and they've upgraded their SIMs, that wherever it's being taken to in any part of this country, wherever it's remote village or wherever, there is always going to be network. So in that regard, it shows that the
incident
usage
form
of incident form is going to be very minimized.
Not minimized. Like what we understand, it can't happen again. Yeah. That they will be using incident forms.
Because no, it's true that you are still going to have some people that has disability in their hands.
But that's different from what the leadership of INEC said.
No, because when you have such this, what do? You can't just differentialize to such people.
Yes. You
that is where the authentication.
Back to you, Chima. You know, this needs to be cleared.
Yeah.
Now, there are some who argue that because there's no legal background on the foreclosure of incident forms.
Yeah.
There could be issues that may arise that will give room for INEC to a little bit shapen to form in this respect, like what he said. What do you think that would be?
Yeah, but you know that the Electoral Act does not provide for use of incident form. It is INEC internal regulatory mechanism. The law does not provide. The law has empowered INEC to determine within the bounds of the laws establishing it how it wants to conduct the election. Okay? Now, the key question is, for those that their card readers, will not work. Okay? The card readers will not work with their fingerprints. How will they not be disenfranchised? And that is where INEC have said they are going to find a way to authenticate their PVC.
Yes, so that they won't be disenfranchised.
Voter. Okay? So you are not carrying another person's PVC and then saying that, the card reader failed, so you should now use the incident form. Okay? Because as the Reverend rightly pointed out, the incident form will be used more than the card reader itself. And that is a great window of opportunity for fraud. I stand to be challenged by anybody, whether it is not what has happened in this country. Okay? When you jettison what will authenticate the process, and you go for an easy way out to manipulate. So if INEC...
It brings a wide gulf for electoral malpractices.
If INEC have checked and seen that the use of the incident form, will discredit whatever they are doing, they have the legal authority to jettison it.
Okay.
Totally.
Let's also look at the allegations about the some politicians who reports have it that they're already buying voter cards, and that again is a challenge. And INEC says they are not unaware of that, and they are making up measures to ensure that that doesn't work. Now, shouldn't it be the focus of politicians to make sure that the process is transparent enough?
It's everybody's responsibility. I said that before. Even with journalists, that's why we are here discussing it. Because you still find out that among us that are desperate politicians, people are so desperate to get everything at all costs. So that is why somebody goes to that extent of amassing PVC, going about buying voters' cards because you want to use to skew the process. But I believe that the leadership of INEC must put their foot down, because these people that are working in the office of this INEC staff, they are not ghosts. Because you should be able to, even if I'm a headmaster of a school, I should be able to vouch for every student I have. I can vouch for their behavior, their character. I can write about them and tell you who they are. So they'll be able to put their foot down to monitor every activity of their staff.
Officials.
Because it's the officials that you can infiltrate. Because you look at them and say, because most of them, they are so close to politicians, because whether we like it or not.
So it's possible?
Yeah, it's very possible.
It's very possible.
It's very possible in the society we are, where people are very gullible. Because of the hunger also in the society, you say, I'll offer you 2 million, give me 100 PVC. You're supposed to, 100, I can, because we have it in the store. We can sell it to you. But I believe that this time around, going forward, politicians should also advise themselves. Because we want to improve on our electoral process. We want to make the process credible. We want to make sure when the result comes out, it's acceptable by all. Because we want to also limit litigations. Because if the election the process is free and fair, and this man wins me squarely, I don't have any process of going for litigation. I will answer by saying I congratulate him and hug him. But if I know that you did something sinister behind me, you had money and you went to purchase or skew the process to get yourself into position, I will challenge you in court. So all this process we are analyzing, I believe that the INEC has the onus, the responsibility to check the excesses of their staff, usually those that mass the store where these things are kept. Okay. Because when they do, you find out that violence and malpractice will be minimized in the process.
Okay, some also argue, Chima, that electoral malpractices is not restricted to one political party. It cuts across political parties. You agree?
Yeah, to a very large extent.
Okay, and what do you make of the incumbency factor? Is it a problem in this direction?
Well, you see, where things work, which is what we are aspiring to, okay? Whether you are an incumbent or not isn't material. Incumbents have been defeated in elections. Okay, so it's not going to be a new thing if it happens again in this country. Okay, but it is your work, what you have done, what you tell people that you will do. Okay, how you sell yourself, your candidacy, your marketability, your acceptability, and those that are working with you. You know, he mentioned INEC, you know, taking care of their staff to ensure that the PVCs are not sold. Yeah, we are in a society made of human beings. There is nowhere all over the world that you don't have deviants.
And there's no way you can vouch for all of them, like what he said.
Yeah,
I think there's a lapse there.
Yeah. Now
we can hardly close that gap.
Let me come.
Okay.
Let me come. So long as the INEC leadership, you know, is transparent, okay, the followership by the measures put in place can fall into line.
And should be transparent.
Yes. Now, if INEC goes ahead with, you know, the scheme they have presented, like the removal of use of incident form, so your PVC has to be authenticated to be sure that it is your own. If INEC staff sells PVCs to a politician, it will be useless to him or her, because the politician has to go and look for the real owners of those PVCs to use it. So if INEC puts a measure that makes it useless for the politicians, they won't buy again. And then you will see that those that bought and sold will be the ones that will expose themselves, because they will start quarreling with each other. Why did you give me something that is useless to me and you collected my money? Okay, so in that, exposure comes. And INEC, if such comes up, if INEC follows it up by applying the law against such persons, both the person that sold the PVC and the person that bought the PVC, they are punished.
Okay, but
you put restriction.
But some say, like, if the party is in power, and it's been saying that maybe those who masterminded this are in the ruling party, how will INEC do this? How will that neutrality come in?
Yes, INEC is not, with emphasis, capital letter, INEC is not part of any ruling party and should not be.
Okay, should be neutral.
That is why they are called an umpire. Okay? So they are to stand in neutrality. Now, if you're saying that, we forget easily, INEC was set up by the last regime, okay? And the same INEC superintended an election that removed the regime that put them in place. So I say it's that if it happens in 2019, it is nothing new. So INEC officials should learn,
okay,
and stand to know that, look, there have been INEC chiefs in this country that nobody talks about today. They conducted the elections. People won the elections. People lost the elections. People went to court. People regained their mandates. People did not get, their mandates. But at the end of the day, the individuals that were involved, what is their story in this country? That should be a check on INEC officials of today.
Okay, let me quickly cut in there. Let me pause you there. Back to you, Francis Wifo. Now, what he just said, is culminating into this issue about some, like the opposition, Democratic Party, People's Democratic Party, saying, and other political parties saying that, well, the party in power in question is being sentimental, and INEC is, like allegations have it, is trying to rig the process, most especially as it has to do with the Amina Zachary story. What do you think about that?
Well, a lot has been said and a lot has been heard too. I believe, just as my brother said, this present crop of INEC must stand and leave a legacy Because when you are saddled with responsibility of conducting an election of magnitude, a country like as big as Nigeria, you have every onus is on you to do it and do it very well. Because when you, for example, like the Amina Zakari issue, it is said that the last administration, they made her a national commissioner, which is right because she was right for it. But when she is now given a sensitive position, like the election center to man, it shows that, and now you are saying that he has a relationship with the president.
As allegations have it, that has not been confirmed.
Which herself spoke, I heard that speaking day yesterday, that she's by marriage, that somebody in her family married in the president's family. So it shows that there is a broad relationship. So I believe that INEC as an organization,
you mean marriage relationship?
Yeah. Marriage.
That can be blood.
See, you don't need to be blood for you to have sympathy or for you to have affiliation with somebody. I could be a neighbor with you, and I want to protect your back. I could be a house beside you. I must watch your back.
Are you by this saying that Amina Zakari could compromise in favor of the presidential candidate of APC?
But the opposition is saying it because everybody owns this country. We want a free and fair and credible election. For us to have that, we must also listen to dissenting voices. Because if the opposition can cash on that. For example, after the election, and say we said it. That is why this social result came the way we expected.
Okay, so what's your advice in this direction?
What I'm advising the INEC as a body is that, in as much as the woman is experienced, Amina Zakari is what the onions to occupy any position. She was even an acting INEC boss one time or the other in this country. I believe that for credibility and for the election to be deemed seen as nobody is infringing anybody's right, somebody else should be given that responsibility to man that position that she's presently occupying. Because that is how it should work. Because opposition is also part of this country. They want things. We don't want things to go the way it should be.
But some believe that you will not be favoring the women folk. Okay, your reaction on that?
You cannot infringe on some other person's rights just because you want to protect your own rights. Because your right stops where my own begins. Is Amina qualified to occupy any position?
That should be the question.
That is the question. Nigerians, dissipate energy discussing things that are irrelevant. I have said it in this studio. Leaving the critical things. Has there been any time in the electoral history of this country that the opposition have not raised one allegation or the other of rigging in this country? Instead of facing the issue, which is how to win votes, if Amina is dropped, will it translate to a vote for anybody?
I don't think it will happen.
Okay, but look at what IPAC said.
Now, let me tell you.
Look at the number of political parties that spoke in that direction.
Wait, that 1 million people are saying what is wrong does not make it right. Okay, in law, it does not make it right. And the question had been, you just corrected, my brother, when he said blood relation with the president. Amina does not share blood relationship with Mr. President.
I didn't say that.
Okay, and that was the allegation. So because there is what we call in law argument, ad hominem or whatever, a Latin maxim. That is argument to nonsense.
Okay,
because at the end of the day, if you say because your neighbor will want to watch your back, it means that nobody is qualified to occupy any position anywhere in the world.
See,
okay.
Let me come in.
So the issue here is this.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah, the issue here is this. Sorry.
Okay.
The issue here is this. If you allege and you prove, that is the law. If you allege, you prove, and once you prove what you are alleging is correct, okay, that is when, if those that are supposed to undo fails to undo, then it becomes a problem.
Okay, you spoke about, let me quickly.
The idea of the law, the principle of the scale of justice, is that it is better for 99 guilty persons to be free than for one innocent person to be punished for what he or she didn't do.
All right, let's look at this aspect critically. You made mention of the fact that it's a big offense for someone's right to be infringed upon.
Yeah.
But don't forget again that we are in a democracy.
Yeah.
And if 91 political parties are saying that this person should be out, what do you think about that? Because these are the parties. These are the parties that are also going into election.
Does that make it
These are the parties that are going into election.
Don't forget.
So can you overrule that?
Don't forget. That is why I asked. Where I asked, has there been any election in this country that the opposition have not alleged that the ruling party is rigging? Okay, so if today, because the political parties, and don't forget that the man that raised this issue, you know, from PDP, from the information that I have seen, you know, I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but by a statement from the family of Amina, okay, that the man has recanted on the blood relationship issue. Okay, so even if all the parties are saying it, don't forget, if we must begin to look at things in the way that it will project us as reasonable, law-abiding, and rule of law applying nation.
Okay.
Okay, so if today, because the political parties have said it, she is removed. For instance, tomorrow, another person is the president and makes an appointment, and the other political parties gangs up and says, hey, 2 days to election, INEC chairman, we saw him drinking tea with you, whether they did see or not. So remove him.
So to you, these controversies are unnecessary.
Where are we getting to?
Yes, so they are unnecessary.
No, it is not unnecessary. It is necessary because it has brought the issue to limelight. And Amina and INEC knows that Nigerians are watching them. Okay? And don't forget, what is the crisis over this? The position is that she will take care of, you know, logistic arrangements, and not that she will announce the results. And the results will be presented by the state electoral officers that are saddled with the responsibility of announcing the result, with the INEC chair presiding and superintending.
Okay.
Let me just.
Okay. As we round off on this, your reactions on that.
Let me just react to this. There's a biblical saying that lead us not into temptation. It's better than forgive us our sins.
Yes.
So we find out that all the political parties, they have an issue with these problems. This is a problem within Nigeria.
Yeah.
So you will not find out that at the long run, they are still going to, whatever election result that we finally collate.
Yeah.
Since they started singing with this song, it's better that INEC cop it now before the election, for it not to validate the election result. So it's better because very credible person.
Okay, thank you.
But going forward, we have other people that can also step into that position. And
yes.
Thank you. I don't want to introduce this subject because I know that we will flog it on and on. Well, big thanks, Francis Wifo, and thanks to you, Chima. Well, we are still on, and we will be taking a break to bring you the Labour devotee Money Mike Modesty as we look at the protest that is ongoing today as carried out by Labour. Stay with me.